The 12 Sports Team presents the Binghamton Coaches Show. Only on WBNG.
Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us on the Bearcats Coaches Show and our exclusive one-on-one conversations with the Binghamton Bearcat coaches. We head back outside this month as winter has wrapped here in the Southern Tier. Spring sports are already more than a month into their seasons, and both Bearcats baseball and softball are out to strong starts. This month we head to campus to sit down with both head coaches Tim Sinicki and Jess to discuss the team's trips down south to start the year, the upcoming America East schedule, and what we can expect out on the diamond in 2025. We start our show tonight as 12 Sports' Michael Villegas speaks with the Bearcats skipper, Tim Sinicki.
I'm sitting here with Tim Sinicki, head coach of the Bearcats baseball team. Coach, how you doing?
Very good. Good to be with you.
Yeah, always good to have you. So, Coach, you're heading into your 33rd season at the helm. What does that feel like?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things. It makes me feel a little old, but it makes me feel very appreciative that the university has allowed me to, be in charge of this baseball program for that long. It's been kind of a dream come true. It's one of those situations where I'm doing something that I absolutely love to do in my hometown, and I might be one of the rare people who really enjoy their jobs and getting up every day and coming to work. It's a place where I've really enjoyed not just the people at the university and the colleagues and the friends that I've made, but obviously my staff has been tremendous over the years. And most importantly, the relationships that I've been able to build with the players. So all those things together have made this really, truly an incredible 33-year journey at the university.
And the longest tenured coach here, what has been the biggest change that you've seen in those 33 seasons?
The university itself has just grown by leaps and bounds. I mean, we have alumni come back and they drive through campus and they can't believe it. And that's just what you see, and what they don't see is how the inner workings of the university have changed, and I think for the most part changed for the better. And specifically with athletics, I just think we continue to get better and better. I think our coaching staff and the administrative staff are really, really good and work extremely hard. And I think we're in a tremendous spot with Gene Marshall as our leader right now in the department. And he's made an immediate impact in this department and on campus as well. And I know I am, and as all the coaches are, very happy with him in the role that he's at and all the things he's been able to accomplish in a very short period of time.
Now getting into baseball here, 9-9 heading into conference play. You got a 3-game series coming up with Maine to open conference play. By the time this airs, this will be you'll be heading into Cornell. So what are you looking at heading into the 8-game stretch on the road?
Yeah, the early season stuff is really less about wins and losses and more about trying to find the right combination of guys that will make us where we want to be in the America East play. Coming out of the preseason or non-conference schedule at 9-9 is really a lot better than sometimes we typically do when we go south and play teams that have been outside and are a little more seasoned than we are. We generally come back a little bit more under 500. So we're happy where we're at. I think we're playing pretty good baseball right now. But this is the real thing now with the games come up with Maine this week and then Albany next weekend. So this is when it matters the most, and we just hope we can continue to kind of trend in a positive direction. And we're still not a finished product by any means. We still have some things we have to figure out, both offensively, defensively, in the batting order. So, again, it's going to take a little while, but, I don't want to have us peaking either too early. We'll continue to work hard on the field and practice, and hopefully come, mid-April or so, we'll have things where we want them to be and on the right path towards hopefully competing for a championship later on in the season.
Now, going into it, in these first few games that we've seen, a walk-off win in the home opener against St. Bonaventure, then you have, you split, you go 2-1 against Holy Cross, and then you're at home, and you get a big win, putting up 8 runs in the bottom of the 6th against Siena. What does that say about this team and their ability to kind of rally when needed most?
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday at practice, and there have been times in recent years where we felt like we've played well in these non-conference games or these midweek games, but somehow one inning cost us, and we ended up losing the game instead of winning the game. So I think the fact that we're finding ways to win games right now, whether it's we have to hold on for dear life or walk somebody off or rally and put up a big number in one inning, whatever the case may be, we have found a way to win. And, winning is contagious, and winning creates a culture of belief within the program and with one another. And so I think mentally we're in a really good spot. And so I think that's where this recent stretch of games kind of has put us heading into the main series.
Now, a part of that is going up to my next question, which is your balance of veterans and also, rookies and the leadership. What have you seen from this leadership in this senior class that's stacked here from Logan Haskell, Devin Bade, who just won Player of the Week for the America East, and Evan Sullivan? What are you seeing from your leadership and your seniors?
And those guys have really embraced the role as captains, as team captains, and they all have their own way. Logan is very quiet and kind of is a leader by example. Devin Bade is a little more outspoken and, is kind of a voice within the program right now. And Evan's kind of just like that lovable, loosey-goosey type of kid, and some guys react to that better. So it's a really diverse group of captains, and I think there's enough personalities on the team that the guys gravitate typically to one of those three guys, and collectively as a group of leaders, they've been really good with the internal leadership, and I feel like it's a really close team right now who really enjoys being together, whether it's on the field or on the road, which we spent a lot of time on. I just feel like we're in a really good spot, and a lot of smiling faces, a lot of guys excited to be at practice, and of course a lot of guys excited to play games too.
Stay tuned as our conversation with Bearcats head coach Tim Sinicki continues after the break.
The 12 Sports Team presents the Binghamton Coaches Show.
We now return and continue our conversation with Bearcats baseball head coach Tim Sinicki.
Thing with having as many freshmen playing, you got Matt Bolton, Tommy Popoff, Sam Miller, these guys that are getting some more playing time as freshmen with these, like I said, balance of leaders. Is that a planned thing to kind of get them more and more exposure, or?
It just kind of happens, it really happens. And our philosophy as a coaching staff is once you get into this program, it doesn't really matter what it says next to your name as for what grade you're in, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and in some instances maybe a graduate student. We're looking to put the best combination of players out on the field, regardless of how many years you've been here and what your experience is. So, we had a pretty good idea heading into the fall, into the spring, what it might be based on the fall. It's played out kind of the way we thought it would, but again, still some tinkering to be done. So it just kind of happens that way. In some years when you think you know what the best unit's going to be, you're far from right. And this year, I think we're headed down the right path. But again, we have guys who are chomping at the bit to get on the field too, who maybe aren't starting, and they're ready to push guys, and they come to practice every day pushing. And if their opportunity comes up, we know that they'll be ready to perform and make life difficult on the guys who maybe are starting right now. But if you have an injury, God forbid, or if a guy goes into a slump, you need those guys to be able to step in and fill in those roles. And that's why it's important to get those guys some at-bats here and there, so they don't go 2 weeks, say, without maybe seeing a live pitch or getting a ground ball or throwing a pitch off the mound. And that's what the midweek games sometimes are all about, getting those guys those opportunities.
And then for you, what makes this team different than teams you've seen in years past? What makes them special?
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things, but I think we do have a lot of talent. And it's not that we haven't had talent in the past, but I think we have talent across the board. Typically one year you might be a little bit stronger in one area than the other, but I think we have talented players in all areas of the game right now. So I think that's one thing that makes this team a little bit unique. And as you said earlier, the balance and the mix of players across the board, from some really experienced fifth-year kids to some young, exciting freshmen. I just think it's a unique situation this year that I think on paper looks really good and has us very excited. But as we all know, you don't win a lot of games on paper. You got to win them out on the field. And ultimately, I'm really looking forward to seeing how we perform once we get going here in the America East Conference.
And then where are you looking for the most growth from them?
I think the pitching staff right now is where we need the most growth. We've got some really talented young arms, and it's a matter of like who I think can figure out, how to get Division I hitters out. It's not about who throws the hardest. It's not about who's lighting up the radar gun and what the analytics are saying and the data is saying. For me, and again, maybe it speaks to my age and my generation, it's about getting guys out. And we've got some guys who are really trying to get there, and it's exciting to watch them go down that journey, and it's my job to lead them, down that road. It's not only just the head coach, but also the pitching coach. And so I've been really excited to work with this group this year, and some guys are making strides at a really high rate, and that gets me excited about what the future might be, not just this year, but down the road with this pitching staff.
Great. And what would you say to the fans out there, the Bearcat fans, of what they can expect for the rest of the season?
Well, I think it's good baseball. I really do. I think it's a good brand of baseball that we play. I think it's exciting. I think the guys, when people come to watch us play, I think they see an excitement, with the team, and they enjoy being out there. And I know that they enjoy taking the field and looking up in the stands and seeing a nice crowd on a nice day. And it just feels good to play in front of a stadium that's more full than less full. And generally speaking, we have very good crowds, and it speaks to hopefully what people think about this program, and maybe they respect it and enjoy it, and that's all you can really ask for. Then it's up to us to keep them coming back.
And we're coming right back as well with softball head coach Jess Bump after the break. Welcome back as we step off the diamond now and into the circle. We sit down with head coach Jess Bump. Bearcat softball has high expectations this season. Bing was picked to finish first in the AE. We find out tonight how Coach Bump has built this program into a perennial conference power. I'm joined here by the softball coach of the Binghamton Bearcats, Jess Bump, and an alum as well. And we're going to get into that, talk about both her time coaching and playing here. But, Coach, thank you so very much for joining us.
Yeah,
appreciate you giving us a couple minutes.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, Coach, I know we're into the heart now as we're getting ready for and into conference play, but let's start from the beginning. What as the team, what's the atmosphere, what's it been like as you guys have traveled and brought some nice weather back with you from Florida here into the Southern Tier?
Yeah, it's been really great, about what we expected. We scheduled a little bit different this year, so I wanted to make sure the girls, we played against some better competition, playing against some championship teams just to kind of see where we're at and to hopefully prepare us a little bit better for getting back to the Northeast and playing in the America East Conference. It's been great. We're 14-9. It's about where we expected to be. And obviously traveling down to Florida for 3 weeks, we didn't lose any games, which is big for us. Usually we lose either 1, 2, 3 games before we come back here. So it's been good to play a full schedule. We've gone through some different periods of really great offense, really great defense, and I don't necessarily think we've put everything together yet, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We're winning quite a few softball games with not playing our best, and it's a long season. Softball's 50 to 56 games before postseason play, so we talk about all the time, it's ebbs and flows, and you just can't let yourself get into the ebb and stay there. So I've been really happy with just some of the adjustments we've made throughout the last 6 weeks, but it's going to be really great to stop flying and being on a bus so much and just get back home to play.
Yeah, you guys really racked up those frequent flyer miles early in the year. But
yes.
What's the mindset going? You talked about a little bit about scheduling different this year and playing some tougher competition. What's the mindset going into setting up the non-conference schedule?
I think it kind of depends on the makeup of your team. We've come a long ways in the last 3 years, so we thought that this team, specifically with our pitching staff and just being a little bit more consistent offensively, we were going to be in a better spot to compete. Obviously, we go into a game like Florida, who was ranked number 2 at the time. We don't really have any expectations, just kind of go out and play softball. The first few innings are always a little bit tough just because, we're playing against elite players and just the speed of the game in general is a lot different than what we're used to. But, our staff was really happy with how the girls competed. We lost a tough 4-0 game to Duke, and at that point they were number 14 in the country. So I think it just gives us confidence to know that if we're playing tight games against some of the best softball players in the country. You know, we can beat anybody. And I think, you know, more forward thinking, you know, if we do win the conference and go to an NCAA regional, they aren't going to be so shocked because those are all the teams that we're going to play once we make it to postseason.
Well, I was just going to ask you about that, but you beat me to it. But yeah, other than the confidence, what are some of the lessons you learned that playing the number 2 team in the country, playing the number 14, playing SEC opponents, ACC opponents, Big Ten opponents?
You just can't give good teams extra opportunities. So against a powerhouse offense like Florida, you have to make outs, and if you don't, they're going to take advantage of it, which is a little bit different from the level that we're used to. And I think, you know, we played Florida game 1 down there, we played Duke game 2, and you could kind of just see the difference between the 2 games. They felt a little bit more comfortable going into the Duke game. We didn't give them extra opportunities. We made them earn their runs. And I think from an offensive perspective, like, we had really, really good at-bats, and we left a lot of runners on base, which it's just hard against elite pitching when you're not used to it to get back-to-back hits. So overall, you know, we were really happy with how the preseason went. The weekend after we went to Gainesville, we were in Madeira Beach, and we went 5-0, had some come-from-behind wins, and just kind of showed that, you know, we're a tough team, and even when we get down, you know, our offense is pretty powerful, and our pitchers are keeping us in a lot of games and not giving up a lot of runs.
We head to the 9th inning of the Bearcats Coaches Show and finish our conversation with Coach Bump right after this break. Thanks for staying with us as part of the Bearcats Coaches Show, and we continue our conversation with softball's Jess Bump as she tells us how she built her staff in the Bearcats dugout. As a coach, how do you build your staff? And I know that includes some local people as well.
Yeah, so I'm in year 4 now. We have had some turnover, which is classic in mid-major softball. But I feel really good about the staff that we have right now. And, you know, my prior assistants did a great job while they were here and really laid a good foundation. But right now, you know, with Michaela being in year 3 with me, she's done a phenomenal job. She was a hitting coach in the SEC. She's coached at a really high level. And we're starting to bring in athletes that are very, very talented. And you can see the development that they're going through during their time here. So, you know, Lindsay Walter, Sarah Rendy, Brianna Santos, who have been here for 3, 4, 5 years now, you're really seeing their development, and our freshmen and sophomores are just getting it quicker. And that is all from Michaela, and she puts in a lot of time and effort, a lot of individual work. If she's not in the office or on the field, she's in the cages with the girls, and that's all I can ask for. And Brooke Wilmus, who's new this year, it's good to have some young blood. She was an elite softball player. She played at Mizzou, about as good as you can have of a career. She was an All-American. After she graduated, she played in the professional league. So it's been really great to have Brooke here, and just a younger mind and someone that played at the highest level that you can. She's been really great from like a mentality standpoint and working with our girls and kind of being their buddy. She's really hard on them, but she can be hard on them because she has really great relationships with all of them. And then Sophia Pappas, Susquehanna Valley grad, played for me for 5 years. She's my 3rd assistant, and she's done a phenomenal job. Like, she'll get on the mound, she'll throw BP. It's about as close to live as we can get. And because she has a great connection with all the girls, she's more helpful than she thinks. And I think sometimes, you know, she's not with us every single day, but when she does come, you know, the girls are very grateful, and she's making us better.
At the beginning of the year, you guys talked about, as we were here for Media Day, you know, some of the stats and the records that you guys broke in that powerful offense. Now, to incorporate some of the freshmen that are just mashing the ball as well, how good can this offense be this year?
I think it's going to be really good. We haven't quite all clicked at the same time, which is why, you know, if you look at our numbers, they might not necessarily look great right now. But that's also because we've just played a lot better competition. So our record from this point last year and this year are about the same, but I think this year it's even more impressive just because of the level of competition that we've played. But I think once we get into America East play, get to playing 3 games a weekend in a little bit more of a comfortable, you know, setting, you're going to see our numbers, you know, increase quite a bit. Our batting average isn't really where we want it right now, but if you look at our on-base percentage and our slugging, it's very, very good. Our strikeout numbers are significantly lower, and I think that's just because of the development piece with Michaela and our hitters, it's starting to show up now. So, you know, I think sometimes as a staff we're pretty hard on ourselves because we have a certain expectation, but it's going to come. And we have to make sure we show that too so our girls stick with the process. I think our power numbers are going to go up. I would like us to be a little bit more consistent, but that's just going to come as the season goes on.
Just finally here before we wrap up, what can we expect this season as we get ready for the rest of Bearcat softball?
Hopefully great things. We do have, you know, 3 America East home series, 1 midweek series against Cornell. Hopefully the weather cooperates here for us. But what you can expect from us is just we're a passionate team. The one thing that might be a little different than what fans are used to is we're definitely more intense, but we're not as lively. But it's not a bad thing. They're just extremely focused at whatever task they're doing. And they have each other's backs, which for a coach, that's the most important piece. So expect the ball to be put in play hard.
Tune in as the Bearcats Coaches Show returns on Tuesday, April 22nd, as we take the turf with Bearcats men's and women's lacrosse.